everybody.
Hi everybody.
Welcome to Roots and Wings Chronicles, Log 7.
So excited to be back after all the things, RSV, pneumonia, all the things were happening with the two of us for a few weeks. So
we needed a break.
Yeah, happy to be standing here.
But we are back and we are ready to talk about boundaries because I know we kind of left you hanging.
We did with a challenge.
To
look at the word boundaries and what comes up for you when it's used, when you feel like you need to set a boundary or when someone is setting a boundary with you.
And also to take a look at how boundaries have been applied previously in your life, or maybe how they hadn't, and how they affected your relationships.
Exactly.
So if you haven't done that, pause, go do that for a week or so,
come on back.
and then come on back. Exactly.
So we're going to just talk about one of the things that we had to reflect on that we found difficult over the last few weeks, and that was self-boundaries.
And our personal boundaries. Right?
And our co-working boundary. So as we were reflecting over the last 3 weeks on this question, topic that we brought up.
Because we weren't making you do it alone, I promise.
Exactly. Our body was screaming, you need a break, right? It was like, you need to just stop and take care of yourself and get rest. And our minds were screaming, we need to produce. We need to...
Task 1, Task 2, Task 3. This isn't getting done. That's not happening.
We need to show up for our people. And we just had to draw the line where we weren't going to demand that of ourselves because our body was not all about it. And so we found that to be really difficult. The self-boundaries we're finding are the hardest for us.
I mean, we've gotten I would argue we've gotten pretty darn good at setting boundaries in relational boundaries.
Yes.
And boundaries when it comes to our time, that kind of thing. But yeah, we definitely still struggle a little when it comes to personal boundaries.
Absolutely. And so that was our reflection.
Yes.
So this week, let's talk about, one, what are boundaries? Abigail and her definition. She's very excited. And 2, we're going to give you 3 why boundaries.
Why boundaries.
Why they're important in relationships.
So, to start.
Definition.
Thank you. So, I mean, what is a boundary, right? When you think about a boundary, physical boundaries in the world, we think about things like walls, fences, lines in the sand. They're lines, guidelines, limits, something that we can look at as restrictive sometimes.
Yes.
Although that's not necessarily the case. What they're really meant to do is to protect.
To keep you safe, to keep you heard.
Exactly. So when we're talking about boundaries in a relationship, it's the same concept. It's a guideline, it's a rule, it's a limit that we set either on the relationship with ourselves or on a relationship with others to make sure that we feel safe, seen, heard.
And better understood.
Exactly, which is one of the whys. So
Jumping the gun. Okay. So
that is a boundary.
Yes. So let's talk about why. For Abigail and I, the first why for boundaries is we both strongly believe that it is our responsibility, or I should say everybody's responsibility individually, to do what needs to be done so that you can show up in the world as a positive light, as, we'll just say it, as a light worker.
Well, right. Well, if you go back a couple weeks, if you listen to the Lighthouse and the Fisherman story,
yes,
that's what it's all about.
Right.
Is to be able to show up as that lighthouse for others.
And in order to be able to do that, you need to have a strong sense of self. You need to be able to refill your cup and draw boundaries in order to protect your energy, keep your energy safe and maintain it, and, keep resentment and negative feelings out of your, out of your sphere. I mean, we're all going to experience negative feelings or lower vibrational feelings, but the more that we're living true to ourselves and holding those boundaries, the more we can show up for the world in the way that it actually needs us.
And the less often those negative vibrational feelings, energies, words, the less often they'll show up.
This is true.
And when they do show up, it'll be much easier for us to recognize them and snap back.
Yes, it
to
happens.
More positive.
It happens quicker the more that you maintain your boundaries.
So,
okay, that's
our
why
number one.
That's our why number one.
Why number 2? So we're talking about the mother-daughter relationship, right? I mean, boundaries are important for all relationships.
Absolutely.
But what we're here to talk about is this one.
Mm-hmm.
And the mother-daughter relationship can be prone to codependency. Just gonna say it.
Yeah.
Definitely our relationship was very codependent in the past
So enmeshed.
before we brought boundaries in.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and that's the reason, is because we didn't have any boundaries. At least not any emotional boundaries.
No, we both took on each other's happiness as our own responsibility.
Which we say all the time now that we've learned, that is not the case.
That is not the case.
We are all responsible for our own happiness.
Yes, and those boundaries, being able to recognize that, I mean, people often refer to it as not my circus, not my monkeys kind of a thing. It's the same with a mother and daughter. Yes, we're still going to be supportive. Yes, we're still going to, share feelings, right? When our children are upset or when our mother's upset, we feel that, and it's natural and it's human. But that doesn't mean it's our job to fix those feelings.
Or it doesn't mean that it's our job to prepare so that those feelings don't happen.
Exactly.
Right? Walking on eggshells, or just doing something that would make you uncomfortable so that the other person is happy instead.
Or not sharing your feelings or your needs.
Masking.
So there's a lot of reasons why boundaries are very important within this relationship.
Right. But I mean, and again, all relationships, but especially so here because we are so prone to the codependency.
Right.
So that's number 2.
Okay.
Boundaries keep us as individuals, and it makes sure that we do not become enmeshed in each other.
And we're able to do what lights us up and put it out into the world.
Right.
And then the third reason, or our third why for boundaries, there's many. These are just the 3 that we've chosen.
These are our top 3.
Yeah. Is?
Well, because it helps us understand each other better. We
mentioned
mentioned it a little bit early on, right, when I was defining boundaries, but at the end of the day, that's what it is.
Our boundaries have actually allowed us to be closer.
Absolutely.
We are closer. We are more in tune.
We respect each
We
other
have
more.
more respect for each other. And it's because of the boundaries and the fact that we've learned how to communicate them to each other respectfully. We now look at boundaries as a compliment, actually.
Yes.
Somebody is setting a boundary with us. They're saying to me, you're important enough for me to want to keep you in my life. And so there's something happening here that we need a boundary about. Let's talk it out. And I actually feel very privileged when somebody wants to talk openly about a boundary, because it says to me that I'm important enough for them to put in the effort of having a difficult conversation and wanting to move forward in the relationship. So my perspective has definitely changed on boundaries over the years.
And that is the 3 whys. So 3 big whys, anyway, if you're going to ask us about boundaries.
Yes.
So, friends, sit on that for a little bit, because next week we are going to talk more about boundaries. We're actually going to talk about the different types of boundaries. So, and we mentioned a couple of them, like personal, time boundaries. Anyways, stay tuned for
folks.
more. Bye.
Bye.